Hello fan, let's get to today's news. Leave your like to support the channel. The NFL's behind-the-scenes stories always hold stories that directly affect the confidence of fans and the fate of teams that dream big. And that's exactly what's happening now with the Detroit Lions and Za'Darius Smith. When the team opted to release the veteran edge rusher early in the offseason, many believed it was merely a strategic move, a temporary financial maneuver, as Smith was expected to return soon with a new contract. But that's not what happened. Instead of returning to Detroit, Smith reached a deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the Lions' main competitors in the NFC Championship. The information was confirmed by insider Jordan Schultz, a one-year contract up to $9 million, with incentives that could increase the player's earnings. For an athlete who recorded 9 sacks last season alone, this amount seems more than fair, and further exposes the Lions' decision as a mistake that's difficult to defend. Lions general manager Brad Holmes even admitted that the issue was financial. According to him, keeping Smith on the roster would cost just over $11 million in the final year of his contract, something the franchise couldn't afford. But this narrative falls apart when we look at the current numbers. Detroit has no less than $33.9 million in salary cap space. In other words, if they really wanted to, they could have made the move and re-signed Smith for even less than what he was projected to receive. This planning failure seems even more serious when we remember that the team's pass rush remains one of the weakest areas of the roster. Currently, Aiden Hutchinson practically carries the sole responsibility of pressuring opposing quarterbacks, while Marcus Davenport, notoriously talented, is surrounded by doubts about his ability to stay healthy throughout the season. The margin for error is minimal, and the Lions are just one injury away from facing a defensive crisis. The decision becomes even more concerning when we consider the context. Not only did the Lions give up a solid and relatively inexpensive reinforcement, but they also saw that same player sign with a direct conference rival. The Eagles already have a highly respected defense, and now they're adding a veteran edge rusher capable of changing the course of a game with a single play. For a team dreaming of reaching the Super Bowl, allowing a direct competitor to strengthen in this way could be costly. Still, head coach Dan Campbell expressed confidence in the current roster. In an interview with 97.1 The Ticket, he stated he was comfortable with the available players, praised the group's versatility, and reinforced his belief in Davenport's work and the defensive depth options. It's a firm statement, but one that doesn't hide the apprehension of some fans who see a clear hole in the roster and fear it will come back to haunt the team in the most crucial moments of the season. Meanwhile, the Green Bay Packers and other NFC franchises have not hesitated to bolster their defensive trenches. The Packers even invested heavily in a trade for Micah Parsons, a bold move that clearly demonstrates the team's willingness to risk their efforts to win titles. Detroit, on the other hand, appears to have adopted a more conservative stance, betting on established names, despite their injury history, rather than seeking proven reinforcements like Smith. Of course, the Lions are still one of the strongest teams in the league, and there's no doubt they can compete at a high level. But the question remains, have they done enough to take the next step and finally break the barrier to the Super Bowl? Marcus Davenport, fully recovered from injury and motivated to silence his critics, assures he's ready to take responsibility. He doesn't hide that the criticism hurts his family, but he also admits he uses those voices as fuel to move forward. Now the question is whether the Lions' bet on confidence and resilience will be enough, or if the mistake of not re-signing Smith will cost them dearly come the playoffs. Leave your opinion here in the comments, because I will read them all, and don't forget to like this video so that more fans see this news. The 2025 NFL season is about to begin for the Lions, and few teams arrive with as much pressure and expectation as the Detroit Lions. Under Dan Campbell, the franchise has built an identity characterized by intensity, discipline, and above all, resilience. Last year, Detroit experienced a mix of glory and frustration. They were the best team in the regular season, dazzling with dominant performances and boasting one of the most aggressive defenses in the league. However, when push came to shove, the Lions fell apart in their first playoff game, falling to the Washington Commanders. This loss was not only painful, but also served as a warning. To win the long-awaited Super Bowl, adjustments still need to be made. Since then, Campbell and his team's entire discourse has revolved around overcoming challenges. The off-season was marked by intense training, specific roster changes, and a relentless focus on not repeating past mistakes. The opener against rival Green Bay Packers, scheduled for Sunday, promises to be filled with emotion, but also with pressure. Fans know the time is now. Detroit needs to turn its potential into titles. Still, some holes remain on the roster, and one of them could be the deciding factor between success and another season of disappointment. The pass rush is the area that raises the most questions. Aidan Hutchinson is undoubtedly the team's defensive star, but the truth is, he needs support. The modern NFL demands that teams constantly pressure the opposing quarterback, and relying on just one elite name is a risk that could cost them dearly in January. It was in this context that a bold proposal emerged, highlighted by Bleacher Report analyst Christopher Knox, that could change the franchise's fate: a trade to bring Kayvon Thibodeaux from the New York Giants to Detroit. Thibodeaux, just 24 years old, has yet to fully live up to the expectations of being the 5th overall pick in the 2022 draft. In New York, flashes of talent were visible, but never consistently enough to become the terror for opposing offensive lines that the Giants envisioned. Still, his numbers show a productive player with enormous room for growth. In 3 seasons and 43 games, he accumulated 127 tackles, 21 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 3 ball recoveries, and 11 passes defensed. Not bad for someone still developing. Last season in 2024, playing in 12 games, Thibodeaux recorded 28 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 2 passes defensed. Statistics that, while not eye-popping as those of a Defensive Player of the Year, indicate a solid edge rusher with the potential to explode in a new environment. And it's precisely this new environment that Knox believes Detroit can offer, an already established team, with Hutchinson attracting double attention, and a coaching staff that knows how to get the most out of its young talent. The most surprising thing about this potential deal is the cost. According to Knox, to acquire Thibodeaux, the Lions would only need to offer a second-round pick in 2026. Considering the scarcity of elite pass rushers available on the market and the value Thibodeaux can still bring, this would be a bargain for Detroit. Typically, players at this position with this potential cost first-round picks or even larger packages. Of course, there are risks. Thibodeaux still needs to prove he can perform consistently at a high level, and Detroit would have to invest not only draft capital, but also consider a potentially multi-million-dollar contract to retain him long-term. However, if the idea is to win now, if the goal is to truly transform the label from contender to a championship team, taking a risk on a move of this magnitude may be exactly what's needed. The big question looming is, are the Lions willing to sacrifice a part of their future to improve their immediate chances of lifting the Vince Lombardi Trophy? Holmes and Campbell's track record suggests caution, prioritizing internal development and accurate draft picks. But at the same time, they know that championship opportunities in the NFL don't come around every year. Detroit's window is now open, and the fans are clamoring for a bold move. Therefore, the Lions' connection to Thibodeaux may be nothing more than speculation at this point, but it makes perfect sense in the context. Hutchinson needs a partner. The team needs to take the next step. And Detroit knows that to reach the top, sometimes you need to make a big move. The big move that separates good teams from champions. Will we see Kayvon Thibodeaux in a Lions jersey this season? If so, it could be the missing link to make the Super Bowl dream a reality.